Welcome back to the story of this 1967 Volkswagen Beetle. Here you can see it where I found it, in a yard in my own neighborhood, surrounded by trees, sitting since at least 1992. And about 18 months ago, I dragged it out of its resting place, put it on a truck, and took it to my mom's house where there was an extra garage space. Since then, I've been working on it, but here you can see its original condition. It was looking a lot better out of that field where it was dry, and you can see it's a complete car, but you can also see it's a lot of work. At this stage, I was starting to feel optimistic. Let's see where we are now.
All right, so let's get you in here. And look how easy this turns. It turns great. Trying to do this with one hand here, but yes, that is a very good thing. This is what it looks like with the seat out. You can see the pan is gone, but it looks like I've got a place where I could weld to. It's honestly a little better than I thought. Now, still haven't got the other door open yet. That would be a big win today. All right, I finally got this thing open. Really, it just took getting a flashlight in there, but I was using my phone and didn't have a flashlight. I think a big lesson I'm gonna have to learn is to get the right tool and don't waste time. I was able to free this latch by seeing it. It's made some progress towards the goal. Not much, but I just was gonna work slowly on it. You know, if I had a few more hours, I could get the back seat, I could get all this stuff off the flooring out, and rip out the headliner. But not getting into that today. I was just coming over to visit my mom and thought I would get a little bit done. Well, I did, so a little progress.
So the next phase was to start removing body panels. Disassembly is the theme for a long time in this project. You can see my son and I taking off the hood and the deck lid, and then moving on to the fenders, which were a real bear. My video setup failed, so I didn't get the footage of getting all of these fenders off, but here you can see what they look like removed. You can see all the rust on the ground, and you can see this is not as inspiring a look, and I was starting to wonder what I was getting myself into. But we got everything removed, and moved on to the next step.
Finally got the fenders off. Almost done with the main disassembly. It's got some really problematic rust. Had to cut most of these bolts out. So, any smart person would have stopped on this project a long time ago or never started. This is some of the worst rust right there. Most of the wheel well at the top, and then this right here is pretty bad too. The back clip, not worried about as much, because that's standard replaceable stuff.
This was a fun find, a newspaper with Bobby McFerrin on it from 1988. And then there was another newspaper with Reagan campaigns for Bush. So that's how long this car had been sitting.
So here's the status of the Beetle, the 67, after some more disassembly work. Got most of the parts taken off, windows out, except for the doors still on for structural reasons. There's little accessories like the visors
and mirror and the washers, windshield wipers, and dash stuff that still could be taken out. But got the gas tank out, got the glass out, got the fenders off, door panels, so that the next step will be to lift the body off to begin the work. So let's talk about what is reason to be hopeful about this car. So as I've said before, the engine turns over, missing a carb, missing a lot of stuff. I don't know that I would try to start it now, but I'm optimistic about it because the engine turns over. What's also reason to be optimistic is, despite the failure of the rubbers, the window channels here in the back look pretty good. I knew about this one. We'll talk about that later. Another reason to be optimistic, the windshield channel is pretty intact as well. That's a commonplace. A lot of times this front dash will rust out really bad, and that would be a difficult thing for me to repair. Another thing, I'll try to maybe show a photo of this, but the gas tank looks awesome. The fuel hose at the bottom had disconnected, and I think all the gas, if there had been any in it, had drained out at some point. So the gas tank looks really good. There's probably a little rust inside, but it sounds good, seems very structurally intact, and the top was preserved by the cover in here. The sending unit was like pristine, and the electronics are surprisingly unchewed, though I'm not going to trust any. I'm going to rewire the entire car. So, obviously, again, it's a complete car. This wiper fluid thing, the hose is even still rubbery. That's really nice. There, reason to be optimistic. Okay, inside the car a little bit. Reason to be optimistic. The shifter, again, it moved and all the wheels rolled eventually after I started dragging it. Played around with the shifter. Feels pretty good, actually. It feels better than my 69 that I drive around. The fuel gauge that I removed when I was taking out the gas tank is beautiful. It's almost like a brand new part. So I could sell that. If all else fails, I can sell the door handles and the fuel gauge for this thing and some other parts and maybe get my money back. But the edges where the floor pans attach to the tunnel seem intact despite the rust. In fact, if you look at the front here, the floor pans, they're bad and need replaced, but they're better than I thought they would be in the front. So that's very interesting. And again, as a reminder, the channels, of course, are gone. The pans are gone. There's rust everywhere, but if these floor pans were 90% better, I'd still have to replace them. If the heater channels were 90% better, I'd maybe still have to replace them, if they just had little pinholes or some rust spots, who knows. So it's not additional amount of work necessarily that I'll have to do. And in fact, it might be a little easier to remove them. I don't know. So that, and there are probably many other reasons to be optimistic. And in general, the tunnel looks pretty good. You can see I broke this brake line off here, and actually had some fluid in it that came out. It was just rusting through. So another reason to be optimistic is that I don't think I can make certain parts of this any worse. And that I think most people who would be doing projects would maybe have relegated this to a parts car. Maybe a body swap, because the tunnel looks almost okay-ish. So I can't make this worse. So I can feel okay trying all these things. I need to learn how to weld. I'm learning a lot about VWs. I'm seeing things as they were stock for the first time. Beautiful details in the wiring, and even like this vent hose on the gas tank.
fuel tank, how it was curved around like that. It's different than on my 69. And again, I mentioned the sending unit was beautiful, and they've got all these hoses in there, and it's so original. I disturbed the plastic vapor barrier in this door for the first time, and just noticing that dent there. Oh well. So, lots of reasons to be optimistic.
This was a nervous moment for me. It was my first real good look at the tunnel and the bottom side. I was hoping it wouldn't be as badly rusted as the rest of the vehicle, and it looks pretty good, actually, from this angle. So, more to come there.
Now, let's talk about reasons not to be optimistic. And there are plenty of reasons. So, the most obvious reason, okay, really the only reason, is rust. Rust. So much rust. So this part I had pointed out when I first found the vehicle. This was showing through under the window seal. And I was like, that's going to be kind of a pain in the butt. I'll have to reconstruct this whole piece here. And again, I don't have any fabrication experience. But this part is actually pretty good. Now, take a look over here. This one I thought was okay. And in reality, it's probably worse. I've got some pinholes through there. So this will probably need some significant work. The dent I'm not worried about as much, but that's also a thing. Quarter panels I knew about. Doors I knew about. Yeah, so then you'll recall I saw, when I first was digging this thing out, some light through the rear luggage tray. I'm gonna do a little more cleaning. Ooh, this is a problem right here. It's wet right there, and I can see light. Dang. The first time getting a look at the luggage tray, and it is clearly gonna be just terrible. So, and that light in the luggage tray, I was like, oh no, I probably have to replace that. And I was like, just pulled up the carpet yesterday to see what was under that. And I was hoping it would be pretty good and that, you know, there wouldn't be that bad. And thankfully, I'm in luck. It wasn't that bad. A little bit of rust, a little bit of it. I see a couple pinholes here through the luggage tray, so it should not be a problem. But in all seriousness, yeah, I removed the apparently structural carpet, and essentially the entire luggage tray came up attached to the carpet. Interestingly, this panel or this piece right here stopped the water, and it's not that bad down here. The quarter panels and this spot here are very bad though, so it's going to be a whole luggage tray repair, and we'll talk about that. But hey, you know, easy to see my starter and transmission. And again, if this was 90% better, I'd still have to replace it. Now, so that was something I'd already planned. What I think is more bad is the water that got up around the fenders. So this one is bad, very rusty. It's hard to tell what's this piece and that piece. We've got some of this sound deadening here and a lot of rust there. Can be cleaned up, but ooh, I don't know. But if you look on the other side, we've got a lot of light showing through at the top, which I could see from the underside. So the fenders, the inner fenders are shot, along with the bottom rail here. Of course, B pillars I knew about, but they're just really bad. A pillars, actually, hilariously, that one doesn't look that bad. But again, that's one of those situations where 90% better, but I'll still have to replace the bottom of that A pillar, I'm sure. From what I can see, the firewall needs some work. Can't get focus here. Firewall needs some work. You can kind of see that through there. You can see it really well here. See all the way through. The Napoleon hat underneath of the firewall, it's hard to say right now. Let me see if I can get closer to see. So this is the Napoleon hat from the front. It's got some rust, but doesn't look that bad. And the seal is still intact there. Oh, get in there. So I don't know. I might not have to replace the Napoleon hat. So that's another thing to be optimistic about. And parts in the rear. So anyway, yeah, rust is the thing to be not optimistic about. The roof doesn't look too bad. I've got some rust up there at the top. But you know, I still had my original headliner bows and all those parts. So in a way, some things are not too bad. So my next steps will be to frame in some reinforcement on this body so that we can lift the body off and start working on the chassis and see what we can do about that. Of course, the front clip entirely needs to be replaced. There's a lot of rust there. The whole front end will need to be replaced, as I already expected. The whole rear clip will need to be replaced. Oh yeah, another thing that really was not exciting for me was this arm here down the end of the body. Just so many different bends there. I also had to cut out a lot of the fender mounts, and then this bumper mount. This is the good one. And then yeah, that piece there. A lot of work and problems there. The bumper mount here is just gone. So, you know, that's just a piece that they make to replace. And so I can get the rear clip, I can get this rear fender. And again, this is why somebody would turn this down if you were trying to do this as a business or something, because the expense of these parts and all the labor will be really prohibitive. Oof. That's rough. One of the worst spots. Anyway.
So as I said, the next step was to brace the body because the heater channels provided no structural support. And I did my first ever functional welding here to put this brace in the body. And then moved on to building a body dolly. I found a lot of body dolly dimensions and plans online, but none of them seemed to meet my exact needs, so I built a custom one. And then the next step was to remove the body. So I removed all the bolts. Most of them were rusted completely off or broke off. And I was able to use a shop crane or engine hoist and lift up the rear, then lift up the front, and install it on my dolly in two pieces. Then I connected the two pieces of the dolly together, and it's fairly secure. I tried to build it over strong because it might be sitting on this dolly for 10 years for all I know.
It is on there. So now I can move the chassis out to work on the body. I can move the body out to work on the chassis. First step will be the chassis. It's kind of cool like this. And there we go. It's about 18 months of progress.
So here she is, with the body removed and work ready to begin. And while it's ready to be worked on, I actually need to be worked on. I'm going in for surgery on my shoulder here in just a few days. So I wanted to get this stage of the work done because it's going to be several months of recovery for me before I'll be able to do anything like this again. So here it sits, and next year when I'm all healed, I'll get back to working and healing this Beetle. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.
Hi there, thanks for watching. I'm Barry, and I apologize in advance. These videos are coming out real slow. I'm not trying to be a YouTuber. I've got a lot of other stuff going on, a job, family, and I'm just trying to make a virtual scrapbook of this project so that I can follow along with and remember the process. So I'm not doing a good job at video editing. I'm not spending a lot of time on it. I'm just barely remembering to video or take photos of things, and then very slowly trying to put these things together for videos. So not going to be your typical trying to YouTube every week video or something like that. I wish I had that kind of time, but I don't. But one thing I can do as a guy that's not trying to make videos and be a YouTuber, I can try to be more transparent maybe than other YouTubers would be able to. And so I'm going to share as much as I can about what this actually cost. Maybe that will be interesting to you if you do want to follow along. So first of all, I bought the car for $500, sight unseen. It's in terrible condition, so maybe I got taken on it, but I thought for a 1967 to make a quick deal and make it as easy as possible on the guy I was trying to buy it from, that I could make that offer and I could probably sell parts and make that money back if all else failed. I made a spreadsheet that I'm following along with here that I estimated how much money I would spend on this project, and I estimated how much time I would spend on this project. My estimate for money was $9,700. So again, this is not a thing that you should take on if you want to make money, because if I fixed it all up, it might be worth about $9,000, $10,000, depending on the value in the market, because it's gone up and down over the past few years. So I'm not trying to make money on this car. I'm trying to have this experience. I also estimated how much time I would put in this, and I estimated 622 hours of work. And that's for me wildly estimating work that I've never done before. So I may be way off in one way or another. And if you work that into minimum wage, if I paid myself a minimum wage, that'd be another $9,300. So the value of this project would be about $20,000 of investment, and that's minimum wage, for a car that at the end might be worth $10,000. So this is not about making money. This is about rescuing a car, doing something that I enjoy, that I've dreamed of doing since I was a kid, of learning skills like welding, of challenging myself, spending time at my mom's place, spending time with my son and showing him how to work hard on something, and using my dad's tools and sort of being with his spirit as he's no longer with me, but I'm able to work on something that I think a project he would have really enjoyed working with me on. So I'm having a great time. I'm going slow. I had estimated that this project would take me about 6.5 years if I was able to do one 8-hour work day every month. So if I spend 8 hours a month, it would take me 6.5 years. I'm way behind on that. It's been about 18 or 20 months, and I have a total of 36 hours and 15 minutes approximately in this project, which is less than one good 40-hour work week. So if I was able to take a whole week off and work on this, maybe I would have accomplished almost 2 years worth of work. And maybe I'll try to do that to catch up because I'm behind next year. But I'm about to take off several months because of a shoulder injury, and I've got to have surgery for that, so I won't be able to do this kind of work for a little while. So I'm way behind. At this rate, it will take me literally 20 years to complete this project. So I'll need to catch up one way or another, or I'll take my time and I'll be driving it around when I retire. In terms of the dollars, like I said, I've spent $500 on the vehicle itself, and I estimated $9,700. At this moment, I've got $2,568 in the project, and most of that is tools. I way underestimated how much I would spend on tools. I think I only put $600 down. And I've tried to get some things on Facebook Marketplace, like I have 2 engine stands on that I got on Marketplace for a total of $50, so I got them both for $50. And that was a great deal, but then I bought a brand new shop crane from Harbor Freight for about $270.
I'm not looking at the exact number on here and have to dig around. But one example is I didn't know how expensive the MIG welding gas would be. The new tank that I had to get for MIG welding was over $500. It was like $510 to get the gas to weld. That cost more than the vehicle itself. And so I didn't think about that. I thought maybe I could do flux core, and quickly realized that was not going to be the solution for this project. So I'm already about a quarter of the way in the investment, but I'm about 5% into the time and got a long way to go. But I'm really enjoying it. Again, this project is for me, and I hope that this transparency is interesting to you, and that maybe you'll follow along. Maybe this time next year I'll have another video or two out and you'll see the progress on this 1967 Beetle. So thanks again for watching.